Thank you for staying with us on the program. Now, on the odd chances that you haven't been following this development, let me give you a quick backstory. The president of the Court Justice Benedict Kanyip issued the restraining order that the two major labor unions in Nigeria stop their nationwide strike action scheduled to commence today, November 14, following an ex-parte application brought before the court by the federal government of Nigeria and the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice. However, following the brutalization of the NLC President Ajaero in Imo State on the 1st of November, the Nigeria Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress and its affiliates that includes Academic Staff Union of Universities began a nationwide strike regardless, in defiance to a restraining court order barring them from embarking on the industrial action. Now, Mr. Ajaero was attacked in Owerri, the state capital, during an NLC protest against the Imo State government over alleged maltreatment of workers in the state. As a matter of fact, bank and electricity workers as well have joined in the strike action. Well, joining us to have this conversation, we are now joined by Barrister Mawah, a legal practitioner from Abuja. Thank you so much, Barrister Mawah, for joining us. Barrister Mawah, can you hear us?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again. Good afternoon to listeners.
Good afternoon. There's a bit of a delay, but thank you so much once again.
Clear.
All right, Barrister Mawah, now can you help us provide details of the account of the events that led to the assault on Mr. Ajaero?
Well, I think I want to quickly say that the NLC president ordinarily is supposed to be apolitical. In other words, it's not supposed to be involved in any political activities because it's a labor leader and not a political leader. I think Joe Ajaero need to be tutored or need to be told this fact that he's not a politician. He's not a leader of a political party, but rather that is a leader of a labor movement. I think he needs to separate this labor from a political movement. And I think he's getting the both of them. It's mixing them up together. Now, yes, before now, I think on the 30th of October, that is last month, sorry, 3rd of October, I was on this program when they declared the strike. They declared the strike, which they, by themselves, called off midnight to the commencement of that strike. And I was on this program and I spoke like a prophet then that we will see come back on this same issue, that Joe Ajaero has become a politician, no longer a labor leader. And that what he's now doing is more like a political movement than a labor movement. Now, there was an election coming up in Imo, of course, which the Labour Party as a political party was also preparing for. Now, while that election was ongoing, rallies were ongoing. There was a rally scheduled or a campaign scheduled to hold in Imo State. On that a particular day, that same day, a man that called himself a labor union leader declared or called for a strike. Now, to make the matter worse, before then, there was a restraining order against the union that Joe is leading, restraining them from proceeding on embarking on any strike. But Joe, in disobedience to that order of court, proceeded to call for a strike. And somehow, somewhat, some unpalatable thing happened to him, which from what I saw online, it was quite unfortunate. But the question is this: if NLC, that is a creation of law, that is also supposed to be a respecter of law, there was an order of a court restraining it from going on the strike. Though Joe Ajaero, and his Joe Ajaero particularly, does the man have any rights, legally speaking, to proceed on that illegal strike? No. And at the end of the day,
Barrister Mawah, whether or not Ajaero is a politician, does that warrant him being assaulted, though? And do you think that the NLC and the other labor unions are reaching for embarking on the strike?
No, I'm not saying, I'm not justifying whatever was melted on him. what I'm trying to say is this. Joe Ajaero should learn to separate politics from unionism or from labor movement. Because what Ajaero is doing presently, in my humble view, is that Ajaero is gradually into a political movement. I think that we need to tell Joe Ajaero that clear message. That clear message needs to be sent to him. So, for what now, today, if you ask me today now, seated here, that what is the reason for today's strike, I will not be able to tell you. The only reason they now have is that Joe Ajaero, as an individual and a president of the NLC, was beaten. And that is, if Monday Mawah has a call for strike, so the point is, what are we now protecting today by this strike? Is it the Nigerian economy that we are protecting today, or the beating of Joe Ajaero by whoever melted that assault on him? I think the proper thing Joe Ajaero needs to have done is to institute legal action against the group of people who melted that assault on him, and not dragging the Nigerian economy into what he has started today. And to make the matter worse, my sister, on Friday, I think Friday, just last week here, like you quoted earlier, the court granted another restraining Joe Ajaero and his group, pursuant to Section 17 and 18 of the National Industrial Court Act, restrained them from going on with this strike of a court of competent jurisdiction. Joe Ajaero has decided to go on this self-called strike in the name that he was assaulted as a person.
Okay.
So my take is that we must be very careful.
Barrister Mawah, now we do understand the reason for the strike, but do you think that this was just a trigger? Was there any outstanding or outlying issue between the Labour Congress and the government, regarding payment, salaries, and all that? Or could this have just been a trigger to get them to go on a strike that they've always wanted to go for?
The answer is yes. There have always been issues unresolved between the labor union and the government. For instance, the 2019 actual agreement reached with the federal government, I can tell you today for free, I'm not sure that that agreement had been met as of today. Now, on the 3rd of October, when I was in this program, I can recall I told you, the anchor person, that it was you, or I don't know who anchored the program, that I said, now they have agreed midnight of 3rd of October to call off a strike that they have made the whole nation. They made us to believe there was going to be strike. And that same day, but for the fact that Joe Ajaero and his group had told us that they were going to embark on strike, I didn't go to court that day. A cost was awarded against me, all because Joe Ajaero and his group decided to call on a strike, which they called off midnight without telling all of us anymore. But the point I am making is this. Now the question is, they resolved to call off that strike midnight on the 3rd of October. On what ground? One, they said the federal government promised a wage grant of 30,000 naira to all federal government workers across board. Two, that the federal government also has agreed to give 25,000 naira stipend to 15 million poor Nigerians. And I can still recall, and I asked a question in that on that day, that how are they going to determine these 15 million poor people within Nigeria from among the over 200 million Nigerians? And then another point there was that, the issue of National Union of Road Transport Workers, that the government should look into it. Then their sister counterpart, the Road Employee Association of Nigeria also, that there were some legal issue between them. The government should look into them. But without any concrete issue, without any concrete arrangement to resolve all that, Joe and his group resolved to call off that strike midnight on the 3rd of October. And I told everybody then that we are still going to come back to this table and to talk about the same issue, which is what we are talking about today. Then the question is, if you ask me today, I will tell you, the federal government have not commenced the 30,000 naira payment to all federal workers. I can say that now for free. That is one. Two, the 25,000 naira to be given to poor 15 million Nigeria, because I'm from a village and there are several poor people in my village. None of them up to this morning have been able to tell me that they have received 25,000 naira from federal government on a monthly basis, which was the basis for which Joe Ajaero called off the strike on the 3rd of October. And then another one was that there was a promise for these CNG buses for across board. Now, the question is, the reason they called off that strike then, up till now, has not been met. So it's as if we are going round the circle. We are going, we from the same standpoint, we left. Now, there was another issue then that they said that all of those agreements they reached with the federal government, that they were going to reduce it into writing and make and transmit it to court and makes it a consent judgment. And I asked and they were saying they will do that within 24 hours. And I asked myself, before you talk about consent judgment, the party must be before court. The issues must be before court, upon which the party would have resolved to say, well, gentlemen, we are going to compromise on our position. Now, this is what we have agreed on. The issue of 25,000 naira was not part of the matter that was before the court. The issue of 25,000 naira wage grant, what do they call it, was not part of it. The issue of CNG was not part of matter before court. So upon which is that going to be a consent judgment? And I asked on this program then like a prophet of doom. And I prophesied that it was still going it's not going to work. And here we are today.
Okay, Barrister Mawah, now I do see your point, which is a very salient point. But now that they have gone against the court's injunction, they've gone against the court order, from your own legal perspective and based on what the Constitution says, what action will the court take or the government take regarding the strike that, you know, what they did going in defiance of the law?
Ajaero should be charged for contempt and be in prison. We are not in a banana republic, for crying out loud. And one man will sit somewhere and say he's going to mobilize for a person. We Joe Ajaero mobilize for strike. So the point is this: we must learn to begin to do this rightly. Of course, many of us, we have been blaming the government that the government has not been doing, the government has not been following the law, the rule of law. But if we must blame government, there is a provision in law that he that must come to equity must come with clean hand. So if Joe must learn to obey the law of the land, he must learn to obey the order of a court of competent jurisdiction. So there was that. So I'm calling on the federal government to immediately commence a contempt action against Joe Ajaero, because he is the utter ego of this industrial action of today. All right, so if there was an order of a court, what stopped Joe from complying with it?
All right. All right, Barrister Mawah, very quickly, I want to ask you. I mean, you have mentioned that everything that the agreement that they said they came to, we haven't seen the result yet, and still they, you know, called off the strike action. Very quickly, in 30 seconds, can you tell us if this has anything to do with the lack of accountability? Because if their actions and intentions and the meeting, you know, the resolve that they come to is made known to the entire public, maybe people will know exactly what the agreement is. So do you think that this has anything to do with accountability? Very quickly, please. We're running out of time.
Yes, it has so much on the part of Joe.
All right, Barrister Mawah, on this note, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show. And we do hope that this ends positively and that the issue generally is resolved. Once again, thank you for joining us on VSA. So we call it a wrap on the show. Thank you for staying with us, and do join us in our subsequent episodes as we discuss issues as they pertain to the African continent. Stay with us as the news comes up next. I'm Blessings Mosugu, and it has been VSA.